Hello, hello, Ederson Oliveira here. This is the first spotlight interview that I'm doing for DeskPal, and I have with me Eric Cook. Eric is a digital marketing specialist from WSI, and you can find him at poweredbywsi.com. Eric, I want to start by thanking you for being the first one. When I sent out the invitation, I sent out the invitation to 10 clients. Eric, he's just working with DeskPal for about a month and a little bit. So again, thank you very much for taking the time and be willing to do this for the first time. So let me start by asking you, can you give us a little bit of a background, a little bit of your business there? Tell us a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. I consider myself a recovering banker. I was in community banking here in the States for about 15 years, and in 2007 made the decision that I did not want to be the CEO of a publicly traded bank. I wanted to go play on the internet for a living, and at that point I left and started a digital marketing practice, and I teamed up with WSI out of Toronto as a consultant with them and bought a national franchise license, and have been doing that ever since 2007.
Perfect. And to disclose some additional information here, I used to work for WSI, so I know who WSI is, and maybe most of you do not know, but that's fine. So I know a little bit of Eric's background because of that. I've never worked before with him in all my years at WSI, but yeah. So let me ask you this, Eric. Digital marketing is a very broad term. You know, there are many different facets to that field, to that area. So is there any particular aspect of digital marketing that you think, you know what, this is the one that I want to be doing, this is the one that I nail?
Sure. Because I work primarily with community banks around the country, banks typically move a little slower than most. They're very conservative and cautious. A lot of the colleagues that I have in WSI are well into digital marketing as it relates to things like marketing automation and digital advertising and lead scoring and conversion analytics. Most of the community banks that we work with, we've started relationships simply in building them a website that gives them the ability to control the information through a CMS, and trying to get them to understand the website as a strategic tool as opposed to an expense item. And because for most of the banks that we work with, it's their busiest branch office. Most of their customers go online and click the login button. There's a lot of opportunities that are being missed to educate and inform their customers of all the other things that they have to offer, the things that they're doing in their communities. And so I guess we tend to be more on the old school digital world, where we're starting with web development and then trying to bring them into the age of digital marketing as it is related to advertising and paid search and display and retargeting and those sorts of things. But keeping in mind the compliance, the regulatory, the privacy related issues that somebody in the banking industry really needs to be aware of. And because I was a banker for so many years, I can have those very interesting conversations with myself about what they should be doing and all the cool things that are possible versus culturally or even regulatorily what they can do.
Got it. Okay, so Eric, I'm assuming that your niche is in the banking industry, correct? Or do you branch out to serve other types of clients as well?
Sure, that's a good question. I work primarily in the banking industry. I do a lot of work in the conference and convention area. I do a lot of speaking with associations and some of the core software providers. I serve as a faculty member on a few bank schools, and yes, there's bank schools where bank executives go for a week or 2 weeks. And so I teach classes on the digital consumer and the evolution of digital, those sorts of things. But invariably, we will get some of our banks that will have clients that they'll refer us to, or we've done some work for some nonprofits. So there's a variety of different businesses that being in a community bank opens up opportunities for. And there's no harm in diversification a little bit. And so sometimes when we get to work with an organization that's outside of the banking industry, things move a little bit more quickly. Decisions are made a little bit more expeditiously because there's not as much, burden of compliance and regulatory stuff that they have to work with. So sometimes I got to shift it in gear a little bit and go a little bit faster when I'm dealing outside of the banking industry. But it's kind of fun to kind of get into other areas as well.
Got it. Okay, so primarily, do you serve your local region, or your reach extends beyond your local region?
Sure, we go coast to coast, and I've spoken in Hawaii, which is about as far west as you can get here in the States. But we've got clients on the coast over in Virginia. And so we really go coast to coast. And when I joined WSI, because I was planning on tapping into the banking connections that I had built over the last 15 years of my banking career, that was one of the big reasons why I chose the national franchise license level with WSI, realizing that, I know bankers from all over the country through my involvement at conferences and conventions and bank schools and those sorts of other extracurricular banking activities.
Got it. Okay. So when I was doing the research for our conversation, for this conversation, I went on your LinkedIn profile and I started to look, at your positions, and I started looking, and everything is from this year to present, So there's about 6 or 7 present positions that you hold there. Can you talk a little bit of everything that goes on, I guess, beyond your immediate business, because there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, well, it may look like it's more impressive than what it really is. WSI certainly is a bulk majority of what I do on a daily basis. And so that has been around since 2007. Hopefully none of my banking jobs still stay present because I should have updated those. But when I do a bank school, for example, and become a faculty member there, whether it's the Graduate School of Banking in Madison, Wisconsin, or the Pacific Coast Banking School out in Seattle, those are positions that I've added to LinkedIn. So those that are crawling around the internet trying to figure out if I know what I'm talking about as it relates to the banking world, those are positions that I definitely want to make sure are active because I still serve as faculty. I also I created an entity called Pedaling with a Purpose, which I think is on there as a nonprofit to help cyclists raise money for charitable causes while riding and racing their bicycle. So I've been doing that since 2006, I think is when that started. So I'm an avid cyclist, but also a believer in doing something to try to give back. And I think if you pick a organization, I've had a couple of friends that have run marathons and done other things as part of a charitable effort. I think if you've got that little either carrot in front of you or a stick prodding you from behind, it forces you to train a little harder and make sure that you show up and do a good job because you've got others that are counting on you. So the charitable effort is something that I feel very strongly about as well. So that could have been one of the other things. As a community banker, I was very active in pretty much all aspects of the community and served on a variety of boards. And even back in my college days, there were a lot of extracurricular activities that I volunteered for. So I think I have a hard time not raising my hand when somebody needs some help. But it certainly keeps me busy.
There's one particular item there on that list that really caught my interest, really caught my attention, and you did mention. And actually, I'm glad that you did mention because I wanted to make this as a segue. You are part of what you called, I guess, Free Webinar Wednesdays. And you can find it at freewebinarwednesdays.com. And it's, well, let me stop here. What is Free Webinar Wednesdays?
So that is a labor of love. It is a creation that a good friend of mine who also came out of the banking space, although I came out of it as a community banker. My co-founder in Free Webinar Wednesdays, Jeff Simpkins, actually worked for one of the data centers that our bank used. And I left banking in 2007, and about 6 months later, he left and started his own practice, Community Bank Consulting. And so during a visit to my house, we had the discussion about creating something that in the book by Michael Port called Book Yourself Solid. Sales and marketing for people that don't like to sell or market. It's somewhat of a paraphrase subtitle. But Michael Port's book, Book Yourself Solid, was one of the ones that Jeff had recommended I read prior to starting my business. And so in that book, Michael Port talks about one of the things to have is always have something you can invite somebody to. And if you and I are talking and maybe you're not, maybe your business isn't ready for a website or a digital marketing strategy, you know, it's not a hard no, but maybe you're on contract with your current web company, or you've got a couple of budgeting things you need to get through for the next 6 months. One of the strategies of always have something you can invite somebody to is a soft way to keep in touch so that you can at least maintain a connection and over time build some reputation and some trust. And so one of the things that Jeff and I kind of came up with was, you know, what if we did a webinar? Well, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. What if we did a weekly webinar? Well, we could do just short weekly webinars. Well, you know, I said, well, what if we did Wednesday weekly webinars? And then it essentially just kind of evolved into Free Webinar Wednesdays. And I'd have to go back and double check and see how many years we've been doing this, but I think it's close to probably 6.5 years now that we've been doing webinars. And unless he or I are traveling or we've got vacation, usually every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern at Free Webinar Wednesdays, you can get on the list, and it's a reoccurring invitation. Jeff and I get together and we feature guests. By the way, would you like to be a guest on Free Webinar Wednesday?
I would love to. I'd love to.
Next. But we do webinars on a lot of different topics. Some of them have been technology related. We've talked about search engine optimization and trends at Google. We've talked about email marketing and targeting and customer profitability. But we've also talked about charitable fundraising. I've got a really close friend of mine who has completed the Race Across America, which is like a 13 or 14 day, you're supposed to complete it, 3,400 mile solo ride across the United States as a race. She's been on the show before as an endurance athlete. We've had business coaches and other entrepreneurs. We've talked about legal issues related to social media for small business owners. So we take all the shows, we record them and make them available at freewebinarwednesdays.com, so you can hop out and actually see some of the shows that we've had. And you know, there's no cost for it, there's no charge. Sometimes we don't even know exactly what we're going to talk about, but Jeff and I just have some chemistry between the two of us where you kind of start the webinar and turn the microphone on, and between the two of us, we can fill an hour of conversation. And we get people to join us from all over the world that will join live, and they ask questions sometimes and just get some really nice dialogue. And so I do believe, for me as a business owner, that has helped keep me in touch with some people, that has made me top of mind, that has caused referrals to come my way. We're doing a project right now for a nonprofit, which was a referral from a banker that I met who we don't do work for their bank, but she joins Free Webinar Wednesdays frequently. And when the nonprofit that she serves on as a board member needed a new website, she referred me, and we had an opportunity to win the deal. And we're working with that agency, which is completely on the other side of the country. So, so it does work, and it's been, like I said, a labor of love. Sometimes it's a little bit of a pain because it's every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It's not pre-recorded, where we can do it when it's convenient for either of us, and we just push it out there. It's live, warts and all, and we stumble on our tongues and make slips, and sometimes technology doesn't work, as you can attest. But I think that's one of the genuine things about doing the show, is you get to know me and Jeff pretty well. So it's been pretty cool.
Perfect. And it's interesting when you say labor of love. There are so many from my experience. There are so many times that I'm doing something for as a labor of love, and you don't know how that thing unfolds, and you don't know how that thing will impact your main business as well. As you're saying, it's a way to get in touch, to keep people connected to you. So again, you never know how things unfold,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very good, very good. So again, I want to, because I really like the video and the audio and the recording, and I like all aspects of it. That's the reason why I want to drill down a little bit further into that. So how do you guys come about deciding who you're gonna be inviting? Because I've checked a few of them, and almost all of them, there's always someone that you guys invite to talk about. So how do you come about inviting someone and deciding who you should be inviting next?
Sometimes it's just dumb luck. You'll notice that there's a lot of times where we don't have a guest, and it's just me and Jeff. There are some weeks where it's 12 o'clock and I call Jeff and I say, what do you want to talk about today? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? And we scurry around and look at the tech news and see what's going on. And that just kind of builds some topics. But a lot of times we'll have people that will sit in on Free Webinar Wednesdays, and they will think of somebody that they know that might be interested in joining the show. I mean, the only thing we try really hard not to do is we don't like it to come across as a sales pitch. And Jeff does, bank consulting and operational assessments and a lot of great things for the community banking space. And I mean, you guys kind of get an idea of what I do. Even when we're talking about the things that we do, we try really hard not to get into like pricing or call me for a quote, because nobody really likes to join a webinar and feel like they're being sold to. So that's one of the requirements, that we just make sure if somebody comes on as a guest that they know that this is really about the visitor. It's really about the audience, and we want to educate them. And if you do a good job educating the audience, and they think, wow, this guy or this gal really knows what they're talking about, they'll reach out to you. They'll find you on LinkedIn. They'll follow you on Twitter. They'll stay engaged and learn about you. And if there's an opportunity, they'll reach out. But, a lot of it just comes from people that we've met over the years, other people in the industry that are really smart on things that are going on. If anybody watching this has an example or somebody that they think would be a good guest, we're always looking for guests to join us. So feel free to get in touch and to let me know, because we're just about creating interesting conversation, and it doesn't have to be just technology. If it's going to enrich somebody's life or give them a different perspective, we think that certainly would be a great thing.
Got it. So the focus is to have people online watching real time the webinar, or the focus is more of, okay, let's record this and let's push this to YouTube?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of both. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think the recordings are probably leveraged as much as they could be. And as a digital marketer, it's one of those, do as I say, not as I do. We use a blogging platform that Jeff had used years ago called Typepad. And so we do quick write-ups. We've got a little Facebook page that we push information out to. But all of the content that we have available, we could probably do even separate blog posts about each one of those and push that information out. I know I get the most enjoyment out of the webinar when we get a live audience that's there. We see a lot of people that are joining us. We get a lot of conversation. So whether it's Jeff and myself doing the talking, or if it's we've got a guest and they're getting a lot of visitor comments, I like the interactivity myself more than anything else.
Got it. Okay, so I promise that this is the last one about the free webinar, free webinar Wednesdays. But how do you promote?
Easy for you to say.
What is that?
I said that's easy for you to say.
But how do you guys promote the webinars? Do you have a mailing list that you send out and hey, this is the next topic? How do you promote it?
Yes, sure. So over the 6.5 or 7 years that we've been doing this, we've grown a list organically. We didn't buy or spam anybody. We've got about 1,800 names, email addresses that are in a database, and we send an email out. We use Constant Contact. They're one of WSI's global partners and a great system to use. So we use a Constant Contact mailing list, and on a weekly basis, assuming that yours truly remembers or has time to get the email out, we send an email notification to folks. I did mention our Facebook page for free webinar Wednesdays, so we'll try to make sure that the future shows get posted there as well. And then oftentimes, especially if it's a guest that we really want to get some good engagement for, we'll spend some time individually promoting it via LinkedIn, and we'll tweet it out and we'll post it to our individual Facebook accounts as well. Because Jeff and I both are connected to a lot of customers and friends in the industry through social media, both personally and professionally, that would want to know when we're having those shows.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So that's great. So, Eric, if you can say specify one thing that you in your organization are good at. I mean, as you mentioned, you're a digital marketing specialist, but what is it from the variety of services and products that are bundled within that label? What is it one that you say, hey, I'm really proud of this one here, and this I do great, and we know very much how to succeed right here? Anyone in particular?
Yeah, I don't know as if it's so much a particular service, like we do PPC better than anybody else, or we do email marketing any better than anybody else. I think what I always try to do, particularly in the banking space, but even when we work outside of the banking space, I think what we do really well, and what I always focused on when I was a banker, was trying to help a customer get to the root cause of what their problem is, what their challenge is, what their pain point, if you think of it from a sales term perspective. Try to figure out what is it that person really wants to accomplish. And my job is then to go out, and whether it's a solution that I can provide, or I happen to be connected to a lot of other great vendors in the community banking space and in other digital marketing arenas, is bring the right players to the table that can solve that individual's need. And it may not always be a solution that I provide, which means I might not always monetize that solution. I might not make any money off of it. But what I want to do is I want to get clients and others that look to me for guidance to see or to recognize that, he's one well-connected person. And if I go to Eric with a question, I know I'm going to get a straight answer. I'm not just going to get a sales pitch. And so as digital becomes so complicated, because trust me, I'm not an expert in PPC or retargeting and marketing. I know a lot about it, probably more than all our customers do, but I know that there's other people out there that know it a whole lot better. And so what I really try to do is help my customers uncover the business need that they're really trying to solve, get beyond the box that they think. Because most of the clients that we work with, if you think of the 4 stages, and I don't know what the official name of this is, but the 4 stages of acceptance or whatnot, you're unconsciously incompetent at first. You don't know what you don't know. And that's where most of the clients are when you go in and you say, well, what kind of a website do you want? Well, they'll be like, I don't know, what are the trends? What's happening in the industry? What technology is available? And so leading them through that stage of becoming then consciously incompetent, where now they know what they don't know. They understand concepts like mobile responsive design and customer targeting and conversion funnels, analytics and on-page, metrics. And then they become consciously competent, where they understand the things, but they have to think about it. But now they know what the questions are and they know the answers. And the ultimate goal for anybody is really to become unconsciously competent. That's where you've got the Michael Jordan that just throws the ball in the air and it goes in the hoop. He doesn't have to think about it. It just happens. And so, thinking about where that unconscious competency needs to be developed, and not everybody's going to get there. I think my unconscious competency is just listening to a client and trying to get them to explain what their challenge is and helping them think about it a different way and then make suggestions of solutions that might solve those problems for them. And then going out and finding the solutions that can actually make that happen.
Perfect. Okay. Now, we're coming towards the end here, but let me ask something about WSI. And it's more of a, for the ones that don't know about WSI, that will maybe not make too much sense, but I want to ask you, if I were a new consultant that joined WSI, last week, coming to this business as a brand new, entrepreneur coming to WSI, what is one advice that you would give to a new consultant, a new digital marketing specialist that want to come to this field? What is the one advice you would give to them?
Well, one of the big advantages to the WSI business, strategy is the environment and the community that you're joining when you come in as a franchisee. And so I've got essentially, I'll say brotherhood, but there's sisters in it as well, because there's not just guys that join it. There's women as well. But you're essentially joining a brotherhood of consultants that are all in the industry, all great people from all over the world. And the one piece of advice I would say is ask questions, network, and look for guidance from those that have been there before. Don't reinvent the wheel. And if you're not part of the WSI network, but you're in the digital world, you can get something similar to that by attending conferences and events and belonging to different online groups where, this is a pretty good industry for sharing. We don't typically, worry about hoarding information and, I can't tell you there may be, if you've got a secret sauce, maybe you don't want to tell it, but there's so much information out there. There's so many talented people that are writing articles and blogging. And, if you reach out to them and you connect with them on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or comment on their blog and genuinely seek to build a real conversation, very rarely have I ever been told, go away, I'm not going to answer that question. And so not being a wallflower, I think one of the challenges that some folks have, because a lot of people see the digital marketing industry as a very technical industry, is sometimes technical people don't always necessarily have the best conversational skills. And I'm not throwing stones. I was a network administrator for a number of years at the bank, so I get it. But this is way more a people business than it is a technology business. And I say it often, the technology that we build essentially can be replicated offshore or someplace else inexpensively, less than what I could do it for, if the only thing somebody was looking for is a technical solution. But when you can wrap that with personal service, when you can wrap that with, the things that matter, as an individual, as a business solutions provider, that's when you're going to be able to differentiate yourself. And so asking questions amongst people in your industry, best practices, being comfortable with the constant change that goes on in the industry. I think those are all kind of maybe subsections or sub-answers of the bigger question of just kind of say, network, ask questions, seek advice, and really don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Very good, very good. Just a quick story. You were talking about technical people that may not have the best conversational skills. I just want to.
I saw you smile when I said that.
So I'm just gonna make a little comment about me there, because I used to be a completely techie developer at the core. 9 years ago, I went to the UK for the first WSI event, and I had a table. A little stand, and I swear to you that I prayed for nobody to stop by so I don't have to talk to them. I prayed. No, I didn't want anybody coming to my table, Oh my. Okay, Eric, we are
hard to grow a business that way.
I don't know, but we learn and we live and learn and live and learn, and at some point you say, hey, what am I doing here? I mean, do I want to be a business person or a techie person? I mean, that's fine, you can do both, but I don't know if you can be great at both of them at the same time. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, Eric, we are coming to an end here. Just want to open up to see if there's anything else that you'd like to mention, anything else that you'd like to talk about, and any plugs that you want to make. Please plug yourself, your company, your business.
Great. Well, before I plug my business, I just want to thank you for an opportunity to be your first. And whether or not we've actually set the bar and kind of created a standard is yet to be determined. But I appreciate what you're doing and giving me an opportunity to tell my story. And I've just been blessed to have been able to have been doing this for almost 10 years now. I'm excited that I had a colleague of mine in the UK introduce me to you. And I will tell you, like you said, we've now been doing business together for very long. But in the short time that we have been doing business, I've been very pleased, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in Denver in January of 2017, in case this lives on forever. Who knows when somebody's going to see this, but I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and shaking your hand and telling you thank you for the assistance that you brought to us and our business and our clients as well. So if anybody out there has a financial institution that is in need of some TLC, or you'd like to join free web on our Wednesdays, or if you have an idea for a guest or a speaker, or you just want to carry on a conversation about where digital's going and kind of pick a brain, I'd love to have a chat. So reach out to me. You can find me on the Twitters at Eric Cook and Instagram, and I'm in LinkedIn and Facebook and all the places. So I think a Google search of Eric Cook WSI will give you probably more information than you'd ever want to know. Hopefully it's all good. But you can track me down and connect, and I'd always love talking.
Perfect. And by the way, all those links that Eric mentioned in his website and all about him, I'll post on the video posts on YouTube and on DeskPal as well. So Eric, I can only thank you for taking the time and doing this for the first time and setting the bar high enough. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.
Oh, good. Yep. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.